On Q2, a deadly crash hitting hard inside Billings Public Schools.
It's kind of an all-hands-on-deck type thing. We want people there to help as much as they possibly can.
A 15-year-old student died and 3 others were injured in that one vehicle crash Friday night, leading the district to take action. Plus, Old Man Winter makes a return to Montana, wreaking havoc on the roadways, leading to several crashes, including one 7-hour standstill. Ed will have the latest on this weather system and making a difference one meal at a time.
Oh, it just makes me happy. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's rather fulfilling, I think.
The MTN 4:30 news starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Monday. I'm Russ Riesinger. A memorial continues to grow near the intersection of 32nd and King Avenue West as friends and family remember 15-year-old Gavin McCombs. McCombs died in a one-vehicle accident Friday night. 3 other teens were also injured in that crash when Billings police say the driver lost control and the vehicle rolled, ejecting 2 people, including McCombs. Law enforcement has not identified any victims or said who was driving the car, but they do say speed is believed to have been a factor in that crash. Family says McCombs was a sophomore at Billings West, and the other 3 teens were all students in School District 2 as well. District officials spoke on how the recent accidents involving teens are leaving many students and teachers heartbroken.
It's kind of an all-hands-on-deck type thing. We want people there to help as much as they possibly can to support the staff, because it's important that they have the support as well, because they have lost a student, someone that they were close to and had built relationships with as well. So we want to make sure that we can do whatever we can just school-wide.
Tonight at 5:30, we'll hear from Billings police on the role speeding is playing in many of these crashes and the tragic consequences they're having on young people.
We got the snow on the ground, but now wind will become a bigger and bigger factor, especially to areas to the west of Billings, usual wind-prone areas, but that will spread even to the Billings area as a cold front will bring a chance of snow back into the mix Tuesday. Off and on snow showers could continue even through the end of the week. A push of moisture on Friday could bring additional snowfall, but the big story will continue to be just how cold it will get, especially as we get closer to the weekend. A lot of weather to talk about in a few minutes.
Aside from some snowfall yesterday, we're beginning 2024 in an unusually warm and dry weather pattern. MTN's Ryan Gamboa sat down with beef and grain experts to see what these pattern forecasts mean for the year ahead.
Agriculture is relying on weather, and El Nino, a warmer and drier weather pattern, has threatened early winter moisture.
It was the warmest December either since 1999 or for a few locations since 1939, which a lot of people know was back in the Dust Bowl era.
2023 moisture levels helped moderate the drought, and a late fall snowstorm provided a base for a lack of moisture through the latter part of 2023.
We're still in good shape in terms of precipitation. Drought conditions are not too bad. They're starting to worsen a little bit, but right now we're still in good shape, and weather is in the forecast, so right now it's not looking like too big of a concern.
Winter wheat producers rely on a snow blanket that helps shield a crop for bitter cold temperatures, leaving Kent Kuffner of the Montana Wheat and Barley Committee optimistic.
But you've got a fighting chance at a good crop if you establish a good crop in the fall. And we've done that. There's some areas where it was drier. There's some areas where there's some light wind damage. There's some light freeze damage. But at this point, early in 24, there's no reason not to be optimistic.
A resilient winter wheat crop in the ground and a cattle market that's flopped. Megan Van Emmen, MSU Extension beef cattle specialist.
Cattle prices are up. Calf prices are great. I mean, after probably 2014, 15, and then the kind of the market, I don't want to call it a crash, but the definite valley in the prices, we never thought we'd see these prices, again in the foreseeable future. And
although economists anticipate cattle prices to stay up through 2024, producers are buying back cattle near pre-drought numbers when the overall cattle inventory is low.
Unfortunately, you sold probably in the last couple of years. You're going to have to buy back at 2 to 3 times what you sold for.
The challenges, they seem to continue, from the cost of buying back heifers or bred cows, building back a hay inventory, and a growing stable fly population. But one that's universal in farming and ranching: grasshoppers.
They just put out the new grasshopper, forecast for 2024, and it's not looking good again for the east side of the state, and it looks like it's going to be much wider spread.
The key is cool, wet conditions in the spring will help eliminate and reduce that pressure from grasshoppers, but make no mistake, statewide grasshoppers are having an impact.
Despite a looming concern and a fresh snow blanket, that farmer optimism remains. Reporting in Great Falls, Ryan Gamboa, MTN News.
The 2024 presidential campaign set to officially kick off in 1 week with the Iowa caucuses. That contest brings the Hawkeye State into the national spotlight. But who exactly will be participating and what do they care about? As Joe St. George explains, the answers may surprise you.
You are about to hear a lot about the state of Iowa. The Iowa caucuses, after all, only happen every 4 years, and they are just days away. But who exactly participates in these caucuses? Well, we dug into the data and found that if your perception of Iowa is only about cornfields and farms, well, that's perhaps one way to lose an election. Let's face it, Iowa does have a bit of a reputation for farming, and in politics, the presidential candidates seem to be frequently near a tractor or a cornfield, or talking about farm issues in their speeches.
But they'd go out and mortgage the farm to pay the tax.
But is this agriculture stereotype a fair one?
I live in Iowa City, Iowa.
For answers, we turn to Daniel Lathrop, a data reporter who lives in Iowa and works for us here at Scripps News. He dug into the numbers and surprised us when he said this.
Iowa used to be a farm state. It's really not anymore. Somewhere around 5% of the workforce is in agriculture. There are only about 15,000 what we would call working farms in the entire state.
And many of those farms, Lathrop says, are hobby farms. In fact, if you want to better understand what Iowans do for a living, you should look at who sponsors the big arena in Des Moines, a bank.
There are about 90,000 people who work in banking, insurance, finance.
But those weren't the only numbers that may be surprising about Iowa. Of the 1.5 million plus active voters in the state, only around 180,000 participated the last time Republicans had competitive caucuses. Just 40 delegates to the Republican convention will be awarded. That's less than 2% of the total Republican delegates nationwide. As far as the overall economy, the unemployment rate in Iowa is lower than the national average. It also lacks the diversity of many other states. 89% of the state is white, for example, according to the census. But regardless of what the data says, the reality is Iowa matters because it is first. And while the polls still show former President Donald Trump as the favorite to win, if he wants to have a historic blowout, well,
to set a record, he has to hit 30 points.
Joe St. George, Scripps News, Des Moines.
It was a monumental win for University of Montana alum and Blackfeet member Lily Gladstone, who made history last night, becoming the first Indigenous person to win a Golden Globe. Gladstone won for Best Actress for her role in Killers of the Flower Moon. Gladstone, who grew up on the reservation of the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, said her win was for, quote, every little res kid, every little urban kid, every little native kid who has a dream. She said she felt pressure being the only child to support her family, but says her parents' unwavering support allowed her to pursue her passion of acting.
Every time I've felt a level of guilt or feeling like it wasn't really possible, my mom and my dad, my whole life, they've never once questioned that this is what I was meant to do, that they would always support me even when it was the times of famine over the times of feast. So I'm really excited to have mom here, have dad watching, and then go home and have a big old feast.
Oscar nominations come out January 23rd. There's buzz that she'll be nominated in the Best Actress category. Gladstone graduated from the University of Montana in 2008. From building birdhouses to delivering meals to others, I headed to Columbus to meet this week's Super Senior.
Super Seniors is sponsored by the following partners.
Things are cooking inside the Columbus Senior Center. And outside, Mary Kewen and her husband Casey are loading up and getting ready to make the rounds.
Be careful, they said it's front heavy.
They're heading out to deliver Meals on Wheels. It's something Mary says she always looks forward to. Visiting a little, bringing a good meal to those who maybe don't or can't get out as much as they used to.
They're always happy to see us, and we're especially happy to see them. They always like to chat a little bit.
Well, you get along.
Yeah, right. All right. Some of them who probably don't see many people during the day, I think look forward to us coming.
Mary grew up on a farm, and while she says they didn't have a lot of money, they always tried to help others, something she's carried on. For 12 years before retiring, she served as the director of Project Hope, which helps feed and provide clothes for those in need.
And we had a young pastor then, so I went to him one day and said, I think I should be doing something useful in my life besides just frittering it away. And so I asked him if he could think of anything, and right away he said a food bank. And I thought, oh, I hadn't had anything that big planned.
Project Hope is still going strong, and so is Mary, and not just helping people.
Yeah, the first time to see a bluebird fly was just,
One of her hobbies is keeping the bluebird trail going, building birdhouses and monitoring them.
hefty nest. I'm always loved birds and watched birds, so it just seemed like a really cool thing to do.
Just some of the ways this super senior is making a difference in her community.
She's my favorite. Oh, it just makes me happy. Yeah, it's kind of fun, is all. Rather fulfilling, I think.
And if you'd like to nominate someone for this segment, you can do so by clicking on the Super Seniors tab. It's at the top of our website, ktvq.com. Still to come on the MTN 430 News here on Q2. On the mountaintop, a Skyview grad will be on the sidelines in tonight's FBS championship game between Michigan and Washington. We'll tell you why coming up in just a bit. Coming up next, some snow is already on the ground. What will the rest of the week bring? Ed will let us know in the full 7-day forecast. That's coming up right after the break.